Celtics win 103-91. This is the Garner Report on CLNS Radio and Celtics blog. Big game for Paul Pierce tonight. Celtics win 103-91. I'm Jared Weiss. With me from Celtics blog, Jimmy Toscano, and special guest of the evening, Ben Watanabe from Nesson.com. We're going to have a little bit of a party tonight. We got blue, gray, brown and silver tonight, so we got some funky colors going on.
This is a pattern.
Paul Pierce with almost half of his team's points tonight. He had 40 points on only 13 for 16 shooting in 33.5 minutes. It was about as good a game as Paul Pierce has had in a long time. We'll just start talking about how he dominated. Ben, take us away. How good was Paul Pierce tonight?
He was as good as you can imagine for the circumstances. He has not had a great early season shooting the ball. The last few games, I don't think anyone on the Celtics has played would claim to play particularly well at all. Tonight it was almost sneaky in a way how much he dominated. When the Cavs cut into that lead in the third quarter, you realized just how important he was because they cut into the lead, obviously, once he left the floor. Kind of maybe a little bit too early.
Yeah, it was a night where he was obviously feeling it, and there wasn't anybody really else in the Celtics. Rondo early on, I thought, was really aggressive and attacking the hoop, and that was great to see. But I thought Pierce was that guy that, as we've seen over the years, that they go to when they need points. And tonight he was just feeling it. I think Kevin Garnett said it after the game. It was like Pierce from 2003 or 2004, where he was just everything. He was the offense tonight. The ball was going through him. The ball was also going through the net when it did go through him. And it was great to see. And I know in the third quarter it was all Pierce. I think he had 15 points. And like Ben said, as soon as they took him out, here come the Cavs creeping back into it. So it was great to see Pierce, vintage Pierce tonight. It was great to see.
And Ben, 6 for 7 from deep. Is that a fluke, or can Paul Pierce really shoot the three ball that well consistently?
He can't shoot it that well. I don't think he's going to.
Nobody can.
We've seen over the years he's more than capable of these type of nights. And this has just happened to be one of them where, they needed a boost. They needed a spark. And I wouldn't overlook the introduction of the Jasons into the starting lineup. Jason Terry and Jason Collins. Jason Terry just through his ability to spread the floor. Jason Collins through his ability to free up guys with his screen setting. So I thought that was a underrated influence on Paul's night.
Yeah, if you look at the box score, and we will later in Boxing Out, but if you look at it right now, you'll see Jason Collins didn't have a really great night looking at the box score, but he really did play a huge role, like Ben said, in freeing up guys like Pierce on the pick and roll, or on picking guys. He's one of those guys that I think Doc said, the second best player on the team that can set screens. Yeah, so, and we saw that tonight. Pierce with an efficient night.
Yeah, and Doc talked about how efficient Paul is. Let's take a look at that.
Well, I don't know, but whatever it was great. It was efficient, though. It was a lot of open shots, a lot of ball movement down the stretch. He had caught fire, and he created his own, but for the most part, I just thought the ball movement was really good by our guys. When you shoot 60% basically, a lot of good things are happening. And then when you hold the team to 40%, 41%, a lot of good things are happening.
So yeah, Doc talked about how efficient Pierce was tonight. But I thought the exciting matchup coming into the game, and definitely ended up being pretty exciting, was the point guard matchup, Kyrie Irving versus Rajon Rondo. Irving coming off of that 41-point spectacular performance in Madison Square Garden. NBA did not let him wear that black Batman-style mask after that game. Clearly, James Dolan just stormed into the NBA offices in Midtown after that one. So Irving sported the clear mask, and clearly that threw his game off because he wasn't really dominating much in the first half. But he came alive really in the second half and was the big reason why the Cavs made that comeback in the second half. So Ben, who do you think won the matchup of the point guards tonight?
I think that you are correct in that it was sort of up and down. Rondo early on, I think, had it, but Irving, the way that he closed, especially in the third quarter, he moved ahead. At the same time, though, I thought Rondo played a good game. He didn't have one of those games where he's really wowing you. He only had 8 assists, so he's back at 0 for a double-digit assist.
That's right. The streak's over, guys.
But, I thought he played under control. I thought that the best plays he made all night was just passing to Paul Pierce.
Mm.
Yeah, I really liked the way Rondo set the tone for the game. I thought he was, like I said earlier, the most aggressive player on the Celtics. He was taking the ball to the hoop. Only 8 assists tonight, but even more rare, 10 free throw attempts. I mean, he's not a guy that gets to the line a ton, and that's sometimes the knock on him is that he doesn't drive, he doesn't, create enough contact in the lane. He'll settle for a jump shot and would rather him drive to the hoop, especially late in games sometimes. So it was nice to see him sort of set the tone early on, and did he win the matchup? I thought both guys played pretty similarly well. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a tie, but at the same time, I don't think one was way better than the other.
Yeah.
I thought Irving did his thing, like Ben said, late in the third to help the Cavs come back from that 20-point deficit that they were in. But overall, I think at the end of the night, you give it to the guy whose team won, so I'll give it to Rondo.
Sure, and I mean, big thing, 10 free throw attempts for Rondo, which was a game high, I believe. So definitely a rare sighting in the box score for Rondo. Ben, I mean, really quickly, do you think that Rondo's been more aggressive in the last week or two getting to the rim?
I don't know if he's been more aggressive. I think it's been kind of inconsistent about whether it's been good aggression and bad aggression. I mean, tonight, even though he only hit 6 of those 10 free throws, like Jimmy said, just getting to the line 10 times unless you set your defense, I think that really contributed to the fact that the Celtics were able to really hold the Cavs to a low shooting percentage, even though the Cavs put up a ton of shots.
And, I mean, just quickly before we move on to boxing out, Jason Collins started tonight, but Brandon Bass and Jared Sullinger, I thought, got the majority of the work, at least for most, while the game was still kind of in contention, especially on the rebounding aspect. I mean, Ben, do you think that this new Collins at the 5 lineup really worked for the Celtics?
Against this team, it did. If you had Anderson Varejao healthy, I don't know, he might have been a little too energetic, a little too limber for Collins.
Changes things a little bit.
Yeah, but it could be, especially when he's paired with Terry. I think it's going to have to be that way. Doc said that he'd been waiting to make the Collins move until Avery Bradley was healthy. And, that could work, obviously, at Collins with some of his screens, Bradley. But I do think that the lineup, at least from tonight's evidence, works best when you got Terry in there to spread the floor and Collins to do the dirty work.
All right, so let's go out of the box. Boxing Out presented by Ben Watanabe tonight.
Thank you.
Throw some bows right now. Just get the bows ready and kind of box out for us. What is your stat of the night?
My stat of the night was the rebounding, where the total numbers were even at 35-35. Obviously, if Varejao had been healthy, that wouldn't have been the case. Although you look at the offensive rebounds, Cleveland still had a huge advantage there. That's nothing new to the Celtics. 13-2 in offensive rebounding contributed to them getting a lot more shots. But overall, the ability to at least pull even on the glass for the Celtics, I think that's really all they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Good stat.
Thank you.
Thanks for boxing out with us.
Anytime. I can read the stat sheet all over the place.
My stats, 59.7%. That's the Celtics field goal percentage tonight. They took 26 less shots than the Cavs, and the Cavs lost by 12. So you don't really see it that much. When a team gets that many extra shots, and not only that, but they only turned the ball over 9 times. The Cavs really didn't play a bad game tonight. I mean, the Celtics shot a much higher percentage, almost 20% higher. And like I said, 88 shots the Cavs took, 62 shots the Celtics took. That differential is rare to see, and especially when the team that took that many less shots wins.
All right, I'll try to be a little bit fun with it since Jimmy's the one always goofing off. But 6 fouls for Jason Collins. I mean, that guy knows how to do his job, right?
Yeah.
He goes in there, he just hacks a bunch of people when they get to the rim. And it works because the Cavs only shot 14 for 21 from the line. They had a pretty mediocre free throw shooting night tonight. So definitely Collins' presence underneath the rim, preventing guys from getting off easy shots, I thought made a difference. I thought it prevented the Cavs from trying to really get to the rim for the most part. In the second half, we saw a lot of mid-range shooting. I think it was Zeller had a couple nice shots from the perimeter.
Yeah.
He went 9 for 15 from the field tonight. I was really shocked to see him have that much of an offensive impact, especially in the mid-range area. So definitely a guy to look out for in the future for these guys.
Yeah, and real quick on Collins, when the Celtics signed Darko, everybody thought he was going to be the enforcer, the guy that would hack players as they drive to the hoop. But obviously that didn't happen. So now it looks like Collins might be taking on a little bit of that role. And also one of those fouls was a flagrant one, which is a nice little star next to that one. And I forget who he actually fouled. Do you guys remember who he fouled? Was it Thompson? Thompson actually missed both of those free throws. Yeah. So
ball don't lie.
Ball don't lie.
As Sheed might say.
Ball don't lie.
Well, if you want proof of being an enforcer...
As Sheed will say when he comes to the Gardens.
Exactly. Well, if you want proof of being an enforcer, you're making the guy brick them both. Definitely. Yeah. And not to mention, I think Sheed has the highest foul rate in the league right now. So
not surprised.
Ball really don't lie.
Another guy doing his job.
Let's ball out. Let's just go all out on this one. Ben Watanabe, tell me your baller of the night.
My baller of the night, I'm gonna kind of twist it around since I have a feeling who you guys are gonna pick. I'm gonna take Collins.
Nice.
His first start of the year, he did some decent things. It's gonna get overlooked because of obviously Paul Anthony Pierce, but Kevin Garnett said that he enjoyed working with him, which I thought was an interesting thing to say. It's like you're at an office and you got a project you're working with the guy in the next cubicle. So I think that's interesting because it now creates a thing where, as you said, with Sullinger and Bass and Collins, they now have kind of another big guy by committee that they can go to whichever one of those guys fits the bill beside KG on that particular night.
Good baller. It was between Barbosa and Pierce with me, and I guess I'll go Pierce at the end of the day. I think Pierce did a little bit more. In a serious note, though, 40 points. He's the oldest Celtic to hit 40 points in regulation. Larry Bird did it, I think, about 32 days older. Pierce is 35 years and like 60-something days, I think. And Larry Bird did it, but it took him 2 overtimes to do it. So Pierce is the oldest Celtic to hit 40 points in regulation, which is obviously, important.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good stat. It's not like we're talking about the New Orleans Hornets here or something like that.
Or the Pelicans.
Or the Mosquitoes maybe, whatever they came up with some names today.
Yeah, the Brass we were hearing a couple weeks ago. But very baller night for Paul Pierce, and I'm going to go with the same thing. My reason will be the shooting's pretty obvious, but his defense. That guy started transition so much tonight. It seems like he's averaging 3 steals a game over the past month or so. He is starting so many transition plays, and I think that's been his biggest impact. Is they're really winning when Pierce is able to force a turnover or get out in transition and really push the fast break play. And basically, the Celtics only shot 62 points tonight, but I thought they did a really good job getting out on the break. Fast break points, 18 fast break points, 6 for 6 from the field there. So that's
Cavs
pretty.
Only had 6?
Exactly,
so,
6 on 2 for 3. So only 3 attempts on.
And that goes back, like you said, to the defense.
Exactly. So really good perimeter defense tonight for the Celtics. Sure, Waiters. But by the way, I was surprised to see Waiters was the guy running the pick and roll. It seemed for most of the game. So definitely not what I expected to see from the Cavs. Getting one of our few chances to watch 48 minutes of basketball with those guys.
Thankfully.
We saw that. Let's see, what were the turnovers for Waiters? Only 3 turnovers for Waiters. Only 9 really for the Cavs. So not a ton of turnovers there. But Pierce, I thought, was a difference maker on defense for the Celtics tonight. And it was just an amazing all-around game for Pierce, where the numbers are through the roof, the efficiency numbers are through the roof, but the eye test too was just fantastic for him.
Honestly, it's good to see because with Pierce, and Doc Rivers kind of said it after the game, it's like you never know what you're going to get with Pierce. Yeah. And I feel like we go into every season wondering, is this the year that Pierce kind of falls off a little bit, or isn't the same Pierce that we've seen? And then it's games like this that make you think, well, nope, he still got it. Can you really doubt the guy after he puts up 40 points in the way he did it? It wasn't like he took 30 shots and he took 16 shots and 6 from 7 from 3. So it was a great sign. It was a great thing to see from Pierce tonight.
All right, let's quickly look ahead to the next game. Milwaukee comes into town.
For the 12th time they play together this season.
Exactly. It seems every other Garden report that we do is on the Milwaukee Bucks. Ben, who do you think is going to be the key guy for the Bucks in this game?
I think it's going to be, obviously you got the little guys, but Larry Sanders has been playing really well, and he's kind of been in the Bucks rolling lineups. He's been the guy late who's really been bringing a ton of energy defensively on the glass. He can leap. It's crazy some of the putbacks that he gets to. I think he will be one of those guys that I was talking about that his energy could give them some trouble, if they try to go back with this Collins lineup.
Yeah, he brings the block party with him everywhere he goes. And I think this is like leading
on CLNSradio.com.
He might be leading the league in blocks. I'm not sure on that stat, but I know he's got a ton of blocks.
He's either there or he's tied with Ibaka last check.
Okay, yeah. So, good answer with Sanders. I think that the quick guards obviously pose a problem for the Celtics. Ellis and Jennings, those two guys, both in contract years.
Oh, yeah.
Both, filling the stat sheets, filling their box scores. So, those guys will probably get there. So it's going to be a tough game for the Celtics. The Bucks obviously know how to beat the Celtics. They've done it this year. Was it twice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Celtics are 1-2 against them. So it's a big game for the Celtics, to get some momentum. If they're going to just win one and lose two, obviously that's not a recipe for success. So they got to string some wins together here, and before they go out west, because that's going to be tough as well.
Look out for Ersan. He's coming. He's starting to really improve. It's a tough start for the season for him, but he's starting to come around. And the Celtics, without Sideshow Andy tonight, still gave up 13 offensive rebounds. We're going to check out now for Ben Watanabe, for Jimmy Toscano, Jared Weiss. We'll see you next time. This is the Garden Report, Celtics blog, and CLNS Radio.